pledge, and then we'll have a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the September Sullivan County Schools Board of Education meeting. The first item on the agenda is the election of the chairman and vice chairman for the Sullivan County Board of Education. That it has to be the first item on the agenda, and at this time the floor is open for nominations for board chairman.
I'd make a motion that Mr. Jones, chairman.
We have a nomination for Mr. Jones. Are there any additional nominations? Do I hear a motion that nominations cease?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Hughes. Ms. King, take the vote.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Iverson.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
Dr. Ralph.
Yes.
Mr. Spivey.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jones has been re-elected as the chairman, and I will now turn the meeting back over to Mr. Jones.
The floor is now open for nominations for vice chair.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that Mr. Hughes continue in that position.
We have a motion before us. Mr. Hughes, do we have any other nominations? We have a motion that nominations cease then.
So moved.
So moved, Mr. Harrison. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And since we only have one candidate, I'll ask for voice vote for Mr. Hughes. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Hughes, congratulations. Since I forgot to announce it back in August, congratulations on your re-election for your term. We'll do board committees next month's meeting, so if you have something that you want to serve on, take a look at what you're serving on this year and then send me a note and we'll take a look at those for next year. Next, I need a motion for the approval of the agenda. Remember, when we approve the agenda, we also approve the consent agenda, so I'll entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Iverson, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. This time we're ready for public comments. Have one, Major Paget is here to speak the night before, so Major, if you come up. And you know the routine, your dad's not your well, so.
Do I need to say my address for you? Or do I, like, my name's Avery Paget, my address is 1125 Galton Shoals Road. I'm currently a sophomore at Westridge High School, and I'm also a member of the high school swim team as well as the Barracuda Swim Club. I'm here to advocate today for the repair and utilization of the Sullivan Heights Middle School swimming pool. Swimming is a full body workout which can have many positive health benefits. The British Journal of Sports Medicine referenced a Swim England study which found that swimming to be an activity which can benefit someone throughout their entire lifespan. Additionally, it states that swimming is a low impact sport which can decrease the risk of early death by 28%, the risk of death due to heart disease or stroke by 41%, and the risk of long-term health conditions by 20 to 40%. Healthline adds that an 160-pound swimmer can burn up to 715 calories in a 1-hour session. That swimming improves sleep quality and duration, and that swimming can relieve emotional stress and anxiety. One of the main benefits that could come from repairing the Sullivan Heights swimming pool is a middle school swim program. This would not only implicate the health benefits mentioned earlier, but it would also feed the Westridge High School and Sullivan East High School swim program. Jonathan Fields last year put out a survey looking for interest in a swim team, and over 20 kids showed interest at Central High School. When comparing the swimming pool at Sullivan Heights to Sullivan Central, please note that the Central's swimming pool is shallower, the interior of the pool has not been maintained as well, and the room echoes, making it more difficult to hear the coach. So last year, our swim team enjoyed practicing at Sullivan Heights much more. The Sullivan Heights swimming pool could also be utilized by the general public for recreational use. Many pools, including the Warriors Path and Natural Tunnel swimming pool, have recently shut down, and others, such as the YMCA and Kingsport Aquatic Center, are often expensive and crowded. Sullivan Heights could act as a public pool and charge a small fee for hourly use to make up some of the cost. For me, swimming has acted as a great social opportunity and stress relief. I've personally felt the health benefits, both mental and physical, through my swimming. The swimming pool at Sullivan Heights Middle School could open up many opportunities to both the general public and to students through both the middle school and high school swim program. Thank you.
Thank you, Avery.
Well done.
Communications board.
Good evening, board. I just have a couple of communications. The first one is our schools will be closed on Monday in recognition and celebration of Labor Day. Secondly, our beginning of the year, we've been in school now for a month, has gone very well. Been very pleased with our situation, with our enrollment, and some of the new procedures that we have in place have gone very well. My biggest celebration this evening is what we're going to talk about next, and that is those schools within our school district who have achieved the level 5 of growth from their most recent TCAP and EOC testing cycles last year. A little bit about TCAP growth. This is a very impactful component on a school report card as well as a school district report card. Growth can range anywhere from a 1 to a 5, with 5 being the highest that a school or a district can achieve. And a little bit about that range. And if you can imagine that a 3 would mean that that group of students in that school or that school district achieved what might just be normal, 1 year of growth. Anything above a 3, a 4 would mean that as a school or a district, you achieved more than what was expected. And to be a 5 is you're at the highest level in the state. There are 146 school districts in the state of Tennessee, and 41 of those achieved a level 5. Sullivan County Schools is one of those 41. Sullivan County Schools as a whole is a level 5 school district. Our school district doesn't get there alone. Our school district gets there because of those schools that we have in our school district and those aspiring students, teachers, staff, and administrators that are leading all of our students. Out of our 16 schools last year, I think it's very important to note that we had 9 that were either a level 4 or a level 5, which means they exceeded a normal year of growth. At level 4, we had Emmett Elementary and Westridge High School. Our level 5 schools are here tonight. We want to especially recognize them. We have a certificate for them, but they will have a banner coming very soon. And something that I'm extremely proud of, and I hope that this board is, and our communities will be equally as proud. So I'm going to go down front for now. When I recognize our schools, I'd like for them to come up and just remain up front with me. As I said, to achieve a level 5 is no easy feat, and particularly when you keep in mind that we are achieving this on the heels of being in and out of school for 2 years prior to this year. Some of our schools are repeaters, some of them are three-peaters. And that in itself is just something to be extremely proud of. So the first school I'd like to recognize this evening is our high school, Sullivan East High School. And I'd like to invite Principal Hare up to accept our It is great. It's great news, and if you'll just stay up here. The next set of schools that I would like to recognize are middle schools. Dr. Fields, who is the principal of Central Middle and Innovation Academy last year, could not be here tonight because it is his first home football game. And when it came time to make a decision where he was going to be, he wanted to be at the football game because he only has 2 at home. And so he's taking care of business there. But in his absence, he is sent 2 highly qualified people to accept these certificates. So first, I would like to invite Miss Sarah Hayes up. And Sarah is representing Central Middle School this evening. Congratulations. I'd like to invite Miss Liz Jones up, who is representing the Innovation Academy, and say congratulations to her. Next, I'd ask if Dr. Leslie Fleener would join me from Holston Elementary School. Congratulations, Holston Elementary School. Indian Springs Elementary School, Principal Mark Pendleton. Congratulations, Indian Springs. I'd like to invite Mr. Mike Wilson up, Principal of Miller Perry Elementary. Congratulations to Miller Perry. And our next school to be recognized is Rock Springs Elementary. And congratulations, Principal Alicia Henson. I am so proud of these schools. They have worked very hard. They are very intentional about their growth and achievement in their schools. And you will see more successes at our next board meeting. So it is my pleasure, and I am thrilled once again to say we have 7 level 5 schools in our school district. Congratulations, and thank you for being here this evening. in the newspaper, and just say thank you to him for that as well. Mr. Jones, that concludes my comments for this evening.
Next on our list is it's unfinished business, but surplus property. To give you an update, Plainview Heights Middle School has been advertised online for 30 days. We've been advertised to be sold online for 30 days. The sale actually starts on September the 19th, and it will last for 7 days. It will be just like an auction, be an internet auction. Starts, I think, at 9 o'clock on Monday, September the 19th, and closes at noon on September the 26th. And minimum bid for that is $2 million. The other surplus property that we've talked about in the past, middle school at Sullivan, that's on hold right now. We have not proceeded any further with that. The county commission had passed a resolution last week or week before last to talk about them purchasing that or taking over or some type of securing that building. So we'll wait till we hear more from them before we proceed with the surplus auction there. Next item, selection criteria for our director of schools. And I'm told that there's something important happening at 7 o'clock tonight, so I may be talking faster than normal. Selection criteria for the director of schools. We posted that today with TSBA. It went online today around 12 o'clock. I gave you a copy last night of the flyer that was produced by TSBA, and I have 2 extra copies here, Rick, if you want one for your article, which I assume will be front page news in the morning. And in addition to that, last night someone suggested that we take a look at how we would select the people to be interviewed. Each board member will be reviewing the paper applications that come in. And the deadline, I think, is October the 14th for those applications to come in. But once they've come in, we will, each of us will review those, and each board member will select the people that they would like to have interviewed. Question came up last night in the board meeting, a board work session, about how many, and I put together some suggested procedures, so if you would take a look at that draft on suggested procedures to see if you want to make any changes. I indicated that step 1, each board member would select 3 candidates that they would like to see interviewed, and that you would submit your list to Mr. Hull as the non-objective member here, so he could keep track of those. And then step 3, according to board policy, anyone who gets 4 or more votes will be interviewed or be a candidate to be interviewed. Mr. Hull would tabulate the ones that you get that we give him, and if we have a huge number of people getting more than 4 votes, we would bring that group back to us, and we would select our top 3, so we get it down to a manageable number. And we mentioned last night interviewing 4 people. I believe that was a suggested number. And final interview list then would have to receive at least 4 votes from that final group that we have in step 4. So look at that. If you want to make suggested changes, please do so.
Is this something we need to vote on, Mr. Chairman, or is it?
I don't think we need to vote on it if everybody's in agreement with it. We were just trying to look ahead at what pitfalls could be in there, but this would be a procedure that we would follow. I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Professor.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. Moving on to item 8, which is new business. Item 8A is policy 5.202, separation practices for non-certified employees. I am asking for waiver of rules this evening and adoption on first reading. As written from our work session last evening, nothing has changed.
I think we have to vote on waiver of rules first and then come back and vote on the actual motion, so I'll entertain a motion to waive the rules to pass this on first reading.
I make the motion to waive the rules.
Mr. Hughes makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Spivey. Any discussion? Ms. King, roll call, please.
Mr. Iverson?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Dr. Rouse?
Yes.
Mr. Spivey?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
You've heard the motion now that we just waived the rules on, so do I have a motion then to approve this as presented on final reading?
So moved.
So moved. Mr. Robinson's nodding his head, so I'll take that as a second. Any discussion? Roll call, Ms. King?
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Dr. Rouse?
Yes.
Mr. Spivey?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Iverson?
Yes.
Item 8B is exam exemption. I reviewed this with the board during the work session last evening. There was a request to add a sentence to the end of the first paragraph. That has been added, and that sentence is to be applied on a class-by-class basis. I did discuss that with Dr. Palmer this afternoon. We were both in agreement with that. I recommend approval.
We've heard the recommendation from the director to approve the exam exemption. Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Dr. Rouse, do I have a second? Mr. Price makes a second. Any discussion? We did discuss it last night at length. Roll call, Ms. King?
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
No.
Dr. Rouse?
Yes.
Mr. Spivey?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Iverson?
No.
Mr. Jones?
Yes. Motion passes 5-2.
Item 8C, school calendar for 23-24. The school calendar for 23-24 would, has a start date for students of August the 7th with an end date of May 21, which would be a half day for students. Inclusive in this calendar is a full week for fall break, which would be October 9th through the 13th. Also, a 2-week holiday break, December 20th through January the 2nd. Additionally, a week-long spring break, which includes Good Friday, March 25th through the 29th. In this, there are also 10 built-in inclement weather days, 3 in-service days, 2 parent-teacher conference days, 3 staff development days, and 3 administrative days. This calendar includes those most popular weeks and items that our staff and students and families always request, and additionally 3 days at Thanksgiving. So I would recommend approval of the 23-24 school calendar.
You've heard the recommendation on the school calendar for 23-24. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Spivey makes the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hughes seconds. Any discussion? Roll call, Ms. King?
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Dr. Rouse?
Yes.
Mr. Spivey?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Iverson?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is item 8D, which is the Sullivan Heights Middle School pool. We had some discussion on this last evening at our work session to highlight that discussion. The Sullivan Heights pool is in need of a pump replacement. We also have potentially a leak in the pool. The pool is losing about 2,500 gallons of water a day. We're asking, or I'm seeking input from the board as to how to move forward with the repair, the possible repair, and where they would like to see us go from there. There were some additional questions about other options. Certainly, if that's the direction the board wants to go, we are happy to follow that. But at this point, I would open the floor for discussion or any motion on the Sullivan Heights pool.
I have a motion to table this until the October meeting to give us more time to get information.
Motion to the table. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Mr. Robinson. All those in, this will do a roll call on that one. Roll call, Ms. King?
Dr. Rouse?
Yes.
Mr. Spivey?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Addison,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
Now that it's tabled in motion, we can't debate that or anything of that nature, so, but now that it's been tabled, we really need a little discussion to move forward for tonight. One of the first questions I would have, Charlie, can we get a price on fixing the leak without actually going to a lot of expense? Can we get an estimate?
Yes, I think I can. What we would have to do first, we would have to shut it down and see how far it goes when it leaks. It may only go to the upper scupper, it might go way down, and that would give the contractor who had done the east pool, I would try to get hold of them and see if, once we determine the depth of where the leak possibly could be, equalize the pressure, I would like to try to get a quote from them, and I'll get in contact with them tomorrow and see if they will come, and we'll probably have to start that process or ask them what they would like for us to do to let them get an evaluation of it.
And for all practical purposes, the pool is closed right now, and
Yes.
it's shut down, it's secured, and letting water go down won't hurt it anymore, right?
We're maintaining the flow just to keep the chlorine up so that the algae and stuff doesn't grow in it, and you know what I'm saying? But once we do this, we'll have to shut the circulation pumps down to find out how far it leaks down, but we will proceed with that and try to get a little bit better handle on what maybe the cost might be as far as the leak repair.
So we have a cost estimate on the pump already.
On the heater, it's $40,000.
Right.
And we've got a pump that's leaking, and to rebuild it, which we feel like it could be rebuilt at one of our vendors, about $4,000 on that. But the leak will be the big cost. When we done the east 2 or 3 years ago, it was $175,000 is what their cost was, so, you know, we'll just have to see and determine what they do. And that was done by Tipton Builders out of Knoxville.
Thanks. Mr. Robinson had a question last night of if the pool were to be closed, what would it be used for? And I would like for Mr. Robinson to have the staff put together some possibilities of what it could be used for, should that be closed. And you can share your thoughts with her individually about that. And there were some interesting comments I've heard since last night about what it could be used for if the pool can't be repaired. So let's take a look at all the facts possible and all the data that we have, the price on repairing the leak, price on the pump we know, and the heater, and then should it be where it's not feasible to do anything with, then we can go further and look at what it could be used for, and possibly even ask the 2 middle school principals to do a survey to see if there is any interest, and let this be a district survey rather than just an individual school, to do a district survey to see if there is any interest in a middle school program. And because if we're going to invest any money, we really need to know that there's going to be a use for it by the school system, not necessarily the community, but by the school system. And that's crucial to have that data. And other comments this time?
I think on that survey, we really need parent input as well, because if you're asking me and I'm a middle school student, I'm gonna tell you, yes, I'm gonna swim.
Right.
But mom and dad may not have intentions for me to swim because I already do several other things.
And offer some input too, Mr. Rapusky, about how it could be designed, ask those questions, because we need real good data here, something that we can go back and look at. Other comments?
Do we know how many, I think I asked this last night, but surrounding districts have swim teams in middle school? Do we know how many? I'm guessing the city does, because I think I've seen some friends post that their kids are swimming.
I think Kingsport's middle schools combine for a joint program that buses to Dollar Tree, but they usually participate in the club as well. But yes, I do think they offer that this year in middle school. I'm not sure about the level of participation.
And I don't think there's any hurry to get some precision, so I think it would be crucial to get reliable decisions, if we're checking with Bristol, Johnson City, and to see what they have.
The question that I would have, would it be the pleasure of the board that we conduct a survey prior to the October meeting, or compose a survey for your approval at the October meeting and then conduct the survey.
I mean, given that we're gonna have to wait on the estimate, I think it would make more sense to make sure we all like the way that, I mean, you all do a great job with that, but that way everybody can see what it is, and if we wanna add anything.
And like I said, I don't think there's any hurry to make a decision, because it's not gonna suffer anymore. It's already closed. And it may be wise for us to even go out and visibly look at the pool ourselves, not as a group, but just individually. That would be important. Any other comments on the pool?
Item 8E is ESSER projects. We spent a significant amount of time last evening, as well as even a prior work session on ESSER projects. The board had some information submitted from architect Deneen West on 3 of our schools. Additionally, you asked for information on the current status of roofs and HVAC systems in our schools. You were presented with that information last evening in addition to what you already had. And at this time, I would ask if there is a recommendation or a motion from a board member as how to proceed with these ESSER dollars.
I'd like to make a motion that we actually look at the list provided to us last night and go the roofs being Mary Hughes, Bluff City, Emmett, Miller Perry, and Ketchum, and the HVAC systems being Mary Hughes, Indian Springs, Bluff City, Rock Springs, Sullivan Heights Middle, and the Westridge Annex, and Miller Perry again. So the ones that were presented last night, plus the Westridge Annex.
We discussed adding Indian Springs roof, the one that was
We
listed.
did, you are correct.
Did we end your?
Yes, please. And I will accept that amendment to add the roof of Indian Springs, that's correct. And I guess that we should actually, it was the older portion of Indian Springs. It's not the entire Indian Springs, but it's the older portion.
The pod was done about 5 years ago, so it's just the main portion of the
Okay.
original part. And while we're making an amendment, we looked last night also at classrooms. We said the money that was left, especially the science classrooms at Sullivan East High School. So would you care to amend your motion to, so Ms. Buckles can send the project in? Is that right, Angie?
Correct.
Yes.
We talked about that in a couple, so just want that,
You
science classrooms.
put science classrooms and just other classrooms if needed, and that way she's covered, especially for the science.
Yeah, I'll definitely accept that amendment to do the classrooms at Sullivan East and any other classrooms we had on their actual list, so she can make it ESSER money request.
Yeah, if the money fits.
Right.
Okay, you heard the amended motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mr. Hughes. Now discussion on the amended motion.
I for one is just saying that, I'm extremely proud of the fact that they've given us a list, and I mean, I'm sure that anybody can look at it if they'd like, but every roof and every HVAC system is either gonna be good, new, or now taken care of. And I'm really proud of the fact that we're gonna have no more window air conditioners anywhere in our buildings. We're gonna take care of all the roof leakings that we have. This is a very, very good thing. I'm just really proud of the fact that we're gonna move forward on this. The one thing that we didn't actually say, and I should have, and I apologize for that, and I guess I could make an amendment to that, is we looked at the fascia on the Mary Hughes, but we didn't mention that. So I guess I need to put that as part of the roofing thing.
It's included in
It
the.
is included, okay, fantastic.
I think it was included, the roof and the fascia, I think is what worded there in that presentation.
Okay, I just wanna make, because I didn't say that, so I need to. Okay.
Now, what we're doing is voting on the motion to present this, to use ESSER dollars, and that's assuming the bids come in before we can afford it. could come back in with high bids and not be able to afford everything that's listed there, but if it does, it comes back to us to help prioritize, right?
That's correct, and actually, I'm not gonna write the names of any schools in unless they come back and force me to do that. I'm just gonna list roof repairs, mechanical, HVAC systems, and science classrooms for ventilation, but I don't plan to list any school names unless they force me to.
Right.
Good.
The only list will be in our board minutes that Christie will have for us, so we'll have that list. And should the bids be high, we'd have to go back and reprioritize. Any other discussion?
Yes, I got one question, and I doubt this is possible with this, but I had a couple schools reach out and was asking about if there's any way we could stockpile parts with this money, so we wouldn't actually waiting 3 to 4 days to get parts in. Is there a possible way we can build up our inventory on the common parts that fail? Charlie, do you think that was I had some saying, the parts would go out and we'd be waiting 2 to 3 days to get them in. I don't know if that's something we could.
We try to
put
keep
into
most
this.
common parts, but according to a lot of our HVAC systems, sometimes a compressor is specific to that, and we have so many different brands and also different sizes countywide. It's hard to put $2,000 or $3,000 in a compressor, and it may only fit 1 or 2, you know what I'm saying? And I know sometimes it's a drag to get those parts in, but I don't know that we could visually inventory that much high expense in that. I wish we could. I wish one would fit all, but it doesn't happen.
And that, would that qualify anyway, Angie?
I would be happy to write that in there and see what they say to me, but,
So if we have a little extra money that,
yeah, I mean, I think we could write that and say to keep circulation of air and that sort of thing. I just don't know how many parts we're talking and cost, but just don't mind.
other comments or questions? Guess we're ready for roll call, Ms. King?
Mr. Spivey,
Yes.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Iverson,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Dr. Rouse.
Yes. Item F is the Perkins budget amendment. I recommend approval.
Heard recommendations to approve the Carl Perkins budget amendment. Have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Spivey, second by Mr. Hughes. Any discussion? Roll call, Ms. King?
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Iverson,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Dr. Rouse.
Yes.
Mr. Spivey.
Yes.
Mr. Jones, that concludes our agenda for this evening. I'll turn it back over to you.
We always have 2 public comment sessions on our agenda. The first one is for agenda items that we heard from Avery tonight. Second one is non-agenda items. Is there anyone in the audience that, I didn't see anybody sign up for non-agenda items? If not, we'll move into my closing comments, and then we'll give you a chance for yours. I want to remind you of the fall conference in Bristol on Monday, September the 26th. I'm not sure about the time yet, but I think it's probably 5 o'clock. It's at the New Tennessee Middle School. And our next board meeting will be scheduled for Thursday, February the 6th. If you would look at your calendars and make sure that that's still good with you. I'm sorry. I just lost several months there. October the 6th. Maybe y'all voted for me too soon tonight.
No, that would go to votes.
I mean, if we, it doesn't have to change, but I'm gonna be out of town that week. I'm gonna be out of town that week, so.
You want to look at October the 13th, almost went to September.
That's all.
That's all right here.
So I figured I'd say that.
I know you got a tentative plan, right?
Thursdays just got very difficult to make some change of dates. Staying with Thursdays.
All right, how about Monday, October the 4th? You still out of town, Matthew?
So I mean, it needs to happen.
We got all week to.
So you're looking at Tuesday,
10th or
10th.
11th.
The week of October 17th through.
Tuesday, how about Tuesday, October the 18th? Does that work for everybody? You make work? All of you?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, 6:30 on Tuesday, October the 18th, unless we have to have a call meeting before then or something. With the work session at 4:30.
Works out good. Give us a little. She is. That's right.
Do you know the time on that, on the September 26th meeting at home?
I think it's 5 o'clock, I'm not sure about the time, maybe a little earlier than that.
We'll have, Christie will send you a reminder.
4:30.
4:30? 4:30 on the 26th.
That's what I have in my phone.
Apologize for whispering here, but I wanted to clarify something. At Central Middle School, we are right now tearing up the asphalt on the track. And the plan is for us to put the asphalt back down and then to rubberize it out of ESER 2. I noticed there were several comments that I've had about having the rubberized track. The plan is that ESER 2.0 money would be used for that. That's assuming the prices come in again where we can afford it. But it's, right now, our people, your people are tearing the track up, aren't you, Charlie? Taking up the asphalt.
We took the rubber surface off, we finished it.
Then we're gonna come back, put down the asphalt, and then do rubberized on top if
I'm waiting on a quote to,
finances permit. I just wanted to clarify that so that if anyone has a question, you would know why. Because if you go by and look at the track right now, tops off, and it probably looks better even than I was out there last week.
Is it fair to say it'll be similar to the East Middle, or East High School, the surface, is that what the rubberized surface you're talking about? Thank you.
Again, I just wanted to
Yeah, I just wanna
put
make
that
sure.
communication out there.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, now, thanks for the vote tonight for another year. Paul, I'm gonna start with you now.
Ain't got much to say. You know, it's 16 minutes into the game.
I'm moving on to hurry. Matthew?
Just to reiterate the congratulations for having so many level 5 schools, especially in growth. I mean, with how much catching up we have to do through no fault of our teachers or parents, with what we've dealt with the past few years, that's very impressive. Those are the kind of things, that's why we do this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Matthew?
I agree with what Mr. Spivey said. It's pretty awesome to have that many schools doing that well. It's pretty good stuff. Congratulations to the teachers and administrators. Letting everybody that's out there.
Thank you.
That's about 70% of our schools. Mr. Thomas?
Well, a couple of things. I want to say, Mr. Pageant, good job getting up and speaking. That was, it's not an easy thing, so you did very well with that, so good job. To our reward schools, or our, not reward schools, but our level 5 schools, fantastic job. I mean, a lot of effort, a lot of hard work goes into it, and nobody ever really gives you the thanks you deserve, and that falls on us, and I apologize for that, but, great job. We really do appreciate all the hard work. And then the other thing is, I'm extremely proud. I'm proud of us as a board for sitting back and saying, we're gonna fix our schools. I mean, we took the money, we could have done some things with it. we did the right thing in my opinion. I'm really proud of what we did.
We'll be even prouder when we get it done, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, but we did what we could do. What we did should make us proud.
And I'm just gonna say ditto to what all the board members have already said. Heartfelt from each one of us, and we are very proud of the schools. Thank you for what you do every day, not just today when it happens to come out as 11:05, but every day. Thank you.
Mr. Hughes?
Kudos to our school system and our director for her leadership in the last year or so to get us where we're at. And I'd also like to congratulate our schools for the beginning of school. Our attendance has been outstanding, and I hope we can keep that up. And I think that'll bear well on our achievement scores going forward. I hope that we can maintain that throughout the year. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
And the exam exemption, I hope those who are listening will take advantage of the exam exemption and stay in school, because this is on a trial basis.
And read it carefully.
And read it carefully. This meeting, I guess, is adjourned. Thanks for everybody for being here on a ball basketball.